Hello and welcome to Store Stories. Every Friday I want to release a video talking about the weird stuff I've had to deal with working at a grocery store. And today's video is actually topical. And please don't take me wrong, I'm not trying to be disparaging to people who use food stamps. And I am sure the majority of people who use food stamp and SNAP assistance, I'm pretty sure most of them use them properly and budget right with the assistance they get. Some people just need some help from time to time, and that's one of the ways to get help. So this video is not just being down on people who use food stamps. There's nothing wrong with getting some help from time to time. Due to a government shutdown, there was a bit of a question on whether people would get their food stamps for the next coming month. And I think I can kind of understand their nervousness, because if you're dependent on the government to get money for food, and the said government is acting like a bunch of toddlers throwing a tantrum because they're not getting their way, I would be kind of nervous too. That'd be a little unnerving to me. But to get things moving, I guess the government decided to give out people's food stamps early, just so they can guarantee that the people that receive the benefits get the benefits that they need. What was real fun is this was happening in January, right before an Arctic blast winter storm decided to come through. So people were getting their food stamps on the same day as that Arctic blast was going to come through. And I gotta say, that was the Arctic blast winter storm ended up being maybe an inch of snow. The roads were kind of slick one night, and the next couple of days were pretty cold. That was the Arctic blast everybody was scared of. But people freaking out about the weather is another video. I always say that. I think I need to stop saying that. My God, people were literally screaming at each other.
Why were they screaming?
Well, people were upset and nervous, but they're also screaming at each other because it was just so loud in the store. And people were talking, and people were talking over them because they were trying to be heard. So there's other people talking over them and people talking over them. So people are literally screaming at each other so people can hear each other, just so they can be heard.
Dude, don't affect a yell.
I live in an apartment building. I don't think my neighbors would appreciate me yelling at the wall here. But, yeah, it's literally, we had hours and hours of hundreds of people screaming at each other while they're buying hundreds of dollars worth of groceries. Each one is buying, every order that was coming through was just hundreds of dollars worth of groceries over and over. I don't think it even got that busy for Christmas. And there's an unfortunate stereotype about people who use food stamps. And boy, I gotta tell you, people were living down to their stereotype. There's only a couple times where I could actually talk to people over the just dip in the rush. People were actually had a conversation, and quite a few of them were insisting you have to use up all your food stamps as soon as you get them. You have to use all of them. I don't know how many times I had the exact same conversation of people were saying that as soon as you get your food stamps, you have to use them all up. If you don't use up all your food stamps, you're going to lose all your food stamps. And with the government shutdown, there was kind of a question on when we would get more. that when they would release another batch of food stamps, that was January. They released them for February early, and there was a bit of question whether or not they're going to get March's food stamps. So I would ask them, are you sure that you want to use up every single penny of food stamps that you have the moment you get all of your food stamps? Because you don't know when you're going to get more food stamps. And they were just same conversation every single time. No, you got to use them all up once you get them, because you don't know, you're going to lose them, and then you don't know when you're going to get some more. So the moment you get your food, you use up all of your money for food, and you don't know when you're going to get more money for food. So congratulations, you don't know when you're going to get more money for food. But I don't know how many times I had that same conversation that you need to like try to stretch out the money, but no, people were just stuck on that. If you don't use them all, you lose them. And it is true, if you don't use up, like, I don't know, example, random number. If you have 200 points per month, $200 in food stamps, at the end of the month, you get another 200. It just resets to 200, which I don't like that. If it was up to me, if you were getting $200 a month and you had, say, $10 over left at the end of the month, you would get 200. You would have 210. You just, anything that you receive for the month would just add on to the previous month's spending. If every month you would just get more, you don't just reset to how much you're supposed to have every month. That'd kind of teach people to kind of budget. But that's a completely different conversation. Let's leave that for another conversation. Leave my ideas of how food stamps should work on a different video. And a lot of people were saying that they were scared because they received their February food stamps in late January, and there was a bit of a question on the March's food stamps. And I'm writing this script out in January. It's late January right now. And when I was writing this out, there was really no certainty of when they're going to open the government. A little bit of an update today. When I was at work, they voted to open the government for a grand total of 3 weeks. Yeah. And the thing is, if I understand right, that was the partial shutdown that just ended. And in 3 weeks, they're going to have a full shutdown because they don't want to do their jobs. Anyway, that's a different conversation. I say that too many times. Yeah, it's kind of hard for Congress to get Congress to lower my opinion of them, but they are pushing it. However, back on topic, if you get money for food, and you have money for food, and you don't know when you're going to get more money for food, it might be a good idea to see how long that money will stretch out. And I'm sure I'm not trying to be disparaging on people that use those benefits. I'm sure most of them are letting them stretch out, but people, seriously, hundreds of people were using all of their food stamps at the same time. As soon as they get them, they just spend all their money. Because if you don't use them, you lose them. So people were just convinced that as soon as you get all your food stamps, you have to use up all your food stamps because you lose them. And now I'm just wondering, now when their food stamps run out, they're just going to blame the government because they don't have money for food. When they're getting money for food, they're just using them all at the same time. They just don't budget out their assistance. Someone was saying that there was a plan to get March's food stamps out, but everywhere I looked up, they say at the March at the soonest, at the earliest, they'll get more food stamps. But March at the earliest that means it could be later. And that's really a question when they're opening up the government for 3 whole weeks and then it's going to shut it back down again for a full shutdown. I don't know. And that's not, and this food stamp thing, I don't even know how many of the 800,000 people working for the federal government during the shutdown without a paycheck because they are required to work. I don't know. And mad props to everybody who showed up for work and maybe you get a paycheck eventually as soon as the government stops throwing a temper tantrum. I don't know if I'd go to work. There was quite a few people who called in sick during their time they were furloughed. mad props to the people who showed up for work and kneecapping for everybody who shut down our government. Yeah, that's Friday store stories dealing with the weird stuff. Working at a grocery store, and this one more weird stuff. And I guess it is customers, but it's mainly just complaining about the government. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like, favorite, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I'm nervous about the comments on this video.